Hey everybody, Jesse here with Shred and Enjoy. We are here in my camper, and I plan on doing a bunch of these videos. We're doing a whole bunch of different videos from all sorts of things. But this particular video is the start of a whole bunch of stuff I want to do about the camper, modifications we've made to it. And I think the big one that a lot of people are interested in is going to be our solar, our electrical, what we do for 4G internet, and just things we do to make it so we can travel and live and work out of this thing. So check it out. I'm going to talk to you guys in just a second all about what I'm doing with the electrical. Alright guys, so I'm pretty lucky that I can record this on my phone. I've got an ultra wide setting so you can see a whole bunch of what's going on, and right here what you're looking at is the front of the camper. Just give you a little perspective, and this is where the mattress usually sits on top of, and there's two chunks of plywood here that go over the whole thing. Mattress fits there. It's a RV queen, but we'll talk all about that sort of stuff. And then I just kind of wanted to talk about what we did. So originally the camper came pretty poorly set up. There was a divider kind of in a diagonal here, and campers are always pretty poorly built, all the ones I've ever seen and talked to friends about. And they do silly things like this chunk of wood here was a divider that I later resized, and it was in there and literally just held to the floor with staples, nothing else. Just staples through it to the floor. There was nothing keeping it going this way, and it just sucked. And there was a large waste of space because it was in here at an angle, and all this was empty and unused, and they kind of just wanted to protect all this without having to do a good job. So I did a lot to both build this in and make it so we had more storage and protect everything, but also then build the electrical into here. As you can see, we've got the inverter and everything, and the solar charge controller. And what I did is, on our camper, the battery was originally way up in the front. As a lot of you guys know, it's up front, and that's a lot of hitch weight. I didn't want to deal with any of that. Also, it's a very silly place to put $3,000 worth of batteries, so do not do that with your nice lithium iron batteries. So this location here seemed premium. There is some water in the area, but that's often hard to avoid on these smaller campers, as water tends to be everywhere. But it allowed me to box in just this little section here. As you can see, I kept some protection here. I used pegboard just so air could move in and around everything. And there's actually a two-level setup. I'm sure you can see from the side here. I built this platform up here. Underneath are the lithium iron batteries, and we'll get a look at those. I actually need to remove everything in the top layer, put the lithium iron under there, and do all that. All the wiring is in here. It looks a bit messy, and I'll admit that this was not the ideal location in some regards for it, but I made it work. You can see down there, we got the giant fuse, we've got our positive bus bar, we've got our negative bus bar over here. A little bit of separation between them. Personally, I'd like to put like a 2x4 in there so you couldn't drop a tool and have it arc between the two. That would prevent that. But anyways, there are caps all over everything, and it's pretty safe in there. You can see we used 4-aught gauge cabling to go through everything. So we've got 4-aught gauge from the battery out to there, and then it goes into the bus bar. And actually, instead of going through the bus bar to the inverter, this connection and the battery positive are right on top of each other, so it never actually goes through there. Negative goes down to the bus bar, same, where it connects over to the shunt, which we'll talk more about in a second. But some other things to point out that we did is right when you enter, we've got right here, and please forgive the spelling error on inverter. We've got the emergency shut off for DC power. Incidentally, this only disconnects the battery though. Solar will still go through. There's an external shutoff for solar, and I'll talk more about how I did solar here in a bit. We've got the Victron BMV 712 smart monitor there, the display. I don't actually use this much. The smart shunt is a much better purchase. And then you can see, in hindsight, I added these. I could have done better. But this actually is the backup camera, which I don't use because I got a cheap one. Need to treat myself to a better one. Tank heater. It is a heating pad on the tank that prevents it from freezing. I have used it. It draws 8 amps. It's a good chunk of power, but you know, if we're gonna be up staying the night at the ski area here, which is kind of our goals, we'll need it. And I haven't labeled this one yet. Need to get the label maker out, but this is actually for backup lights, which I'll talk more about later. But anyone who's ever backed a camper up at night will know. Only other little detail to note is we've got just a little setup right here. So we've got this outlet right here, and this is straight to the inverter, nothing else. It is not on the regular 110 system. Made sense when we had the 1000 watt inverter and I didn't want to power the whole system. I could just do that. Also worth checking out is we've got these little vents all the way through. That allows air to exchange from the main compartment that we are here at here in the camper. Air can go down and in and kind of exchange with everything, which helps keep the batteries at a reasonable temperature, because you don't want to be charging them when they're under 32 degrees. You can discharge them when they're below freezing. But anyways, I don't want to deal with any of that. Also, all these water pipes and everything are possibly at risk of freezing. You can see that I insulated absolutely everything I could get my hands on in there. But I wanted to make sure that if we heat the camper, the air would get in there. So anyways, this is also focused on electrical. I'll show you one other thing I have specific to my camper, which is the automatic transfer switch. This is a GoPower TS30 transfer switch. You can see where power comes in from outside, shore power, and then I have power coming up from down here. That's coming from the battery. So I guess it's coming over from the inverter and going into this box. And then we have what was the OEM 110 line. So what I did is I just took this here, cut it in the middle, ran it in, connected it, and let's see, I think I can actually just pop this cover off. There we go. There is the guts of the automatic transfer switch. One thing to note, I did wire it backwards, technically, which might sound like a mistake, but there's a reason to do it. These come set up with a shore power side and a generator side, and I believe it's more for RVs or boats for whatever reason, and it prioritizes generator over shore power. It waits till there's 40 seconds of consistent power and then switches over to generator. I didn't want to take that approach. I did shore power for 40 seconds. Once it's got 40 seconds of power, it kicks over to shore power and stays with shore power. And in the event it doesn't have shore power, then it goes back to inverter. But shore power will take priority after 40 seconds, versus typically where generator, which would be inverter in this case, is 40 seconds in priority. And I didn't want to do that because the inverter switch can accidentally get bumped, other things like that. And in general, I just wanted to have it do shore as priority. Plus, I have had this save my bacon before, where if shore power doesn't have consistent voltage for 40 seconds, it won't switch over, which is great because I was in one particular situation where shore power was not terribly well set up, and instead of having electrical problems, everything like that, the transfer switch just wouldn't switch over. So thank you, GoPower, for saving my bacon in that situation, and I highly endorse it. Right, we are now here with that top of the platform removed, and you can see the batteries. They are in parallel with 4-aught gauge, and they go down here, and you can see we have the back here of the DC disconnect. Got all this wired in place, smart, or so the Victron battery monitor display, and yeah. So this is where the batteries are all held in. You can see I built a frame around them. You can see I've got these battery tie downs for them so they don't bounce around or anything else like that. And what I'm actually going to be doing today is I'm going to be removing the upper 2x4 over there. You can't really see it too well, but that's going away. And then I'm going to be putting another battery in here, and I think I'm going to need to do more than reduce just one 2x4 worth of space. So I got some figuring out to do, but the game plan here is to put 3 of these Renogy batteries in. These are, by the way, 170 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries. I went with Renogy for the warranty, and also if I ever do go solus, I can be like, this is an entire Renogy system. Renogy. They just have the brand name recognition and would make it easier to sell. I will openly admit right now, you will save money not going with Renogy. Significant money. For the price of 2 of these batteries, you could build the entire system, or even better, a more substantial system. By the time I'm done, and I've been chasing sales and waiting on things and everything else, I'll be $3,600 in batteries, and you could build this amount of battery for $1,800 or less now. So yeah, over half off if you do it yourself. But there's reasons not to, there's reasons to, and I won't get into all that. But I'm going to begin the process now of getting more batteries in here. So stay tuned. All right. Little update now that I've actually gone around to installing the batteries. The plan did not quite go perfect, which is absolutely fun because it was very reasonable to work around. The batteries were quite snug in there. I was not able to use the battery straps I'd mentioned. Instead, I did a single strap over. I retained one of the battery straps to create an elevated platform in the middle, so all the batteries are tensioned down. You can see we've got all of my negatives in parallel. You can see we've got all of our positives in parallel. You've got your little connector going off the Victron Smart battery monitor. We've got in here, we've got our DC power shut off, which disconnects the battery from the whole system. It is worth noting, I marked this as emergency shut off DC power. That is actually inaccurate. It just disconnects the battery. Solar remains connected. There is a solar shut off on the outside coming down from the panels. That's actually how I wired my panels, is externally. It's another video I intend to do, by the way. I still think that was a good idea. But anyways, now that we've got this all in place and whatnot, the next step is to button up the platform that goes over the batteries, place in the inverter and the solar charge controller, get the temperature sensor in there as well before I pull out of this situation. And then yeah, with that all in place, I could start to see if I'm lucky enough that the inverter, hopefully now with a ton of 4.0 gauge wiring and 3 batteries, each capable of 125 amps of output, will allow the air conditioning to kick over without having to buy a soft start, which if I have to do, I don't mind. That wasn't the purpose of this build. Actually, the purpose of this build was that my fiance, when we get married, wants to have music playing the entire time without a generator running, which requires a lot of power. So I present to you a lot of power. Also, great excuse to buy more batteries. Thanks, Savannah. All right, more information to come and more video to come as soon as I get everything buttoned up. All right, everybody. So we've got the platform here. You can see the batteries underneath there as I give you a tour of, and I'm just kind of get everything a little bit more organized as I've got a little bit of time, and we're going to put everything on here eventually. All we got to do is take those here, just go, and there we go. We've got them back in place. 3000 watt inverter, solar charge controller, pretty much fully charged. I topped off all the batteries before hooking them all up. It's all in there. Wire nest is a mess. Wire mess is a nest out. The whole wire thing could be better. That's one thing I would do better, but I had to work with limited space in a small camper, and this is what I've got. I wrapped the terminals in electrical tape because the original plastic protectors that came with it weren't large enough for 4.0 gauge. One thing I have added that I didn't have before is I finally got a ground on this thing, because I am getting a ground fault on here, which, let's see. So you'll see when I turn this puppy on, fault light comes on for a second, it goes green. You can hear the microwave kicked on, everything's good. Turn on the fan, you can see the fans running. Ooh, that's loud. So that's all off AC. Optional heat does not actually generate heat. And then as soon as you go over to air conditioner, the whole system dies, air conditioning goes away, and we have a yellow GFCI fault light on there. Not sure what's causing that. Definitely grounded through here. Strain relief. Grounded on the other end, grounded all the way through. Electrical stuff works. Just once you get that large hit of power, it goes down. But as soon as you restart it, fault for half a second, the usual start thing. Go back up here. Oh, I left the air conditioner on. It probably kicked it over right away. Yep, you can see the fault light's back on. Let's kick it off. Back on. Go up here. Go to regular old fan. It does its thing. So, yeah, I guess it could be something else, but anyways, that's a problem for later. For now, I have 3 170 amp hour Renogy batteries in there. Yes, DIY would have saved me money and given me more capacity. I started down this road, I'm down this road, and there's everything else. All the various cables for all the different connections. And here's just kind of the uglier mess. It is worth noting there are some things underneath the overall wires heading everywhere that is clean. I've got a 320 amp hour or 320 amp slow blow fuse in there, which is what was recommended for this situation. I've got my positive bus bar, got my negative bus bar. If room allowed, I would want to install something between the two so as they can't connect, but again, very limited space in here. I mean, the water pumps in there, all the water lines go through here, which not ideal to mix water and electricity, but it's almost impossible in this camper because it's so small. Water and electricity coexist everywhere. A water heater for what it's worth. There's the plug for powering the 110 volt option on the hot water heater, which is awesome being able to do that. I don't run it off the solar, but yeah, that's my setup and it's done. And now I just gotta get with Renogy or see about adding a soft start possibly in order to get the air conditioning unit to work. But for now, this is all in place and done. I'm gonna button her up. All right, well, it's all wrapped up, as I'm sure you can see. And yeah, we've got the RV Queen in place doing its thing. And yeah, job's done. We have now 3X 170 amp hour batteries again from Renogy. Renogy not being my preference. If I had to do it all over again, I would do DIY from the get-go, but there is some value with Renogy's warranty, and a warranty from a company is unlikely to go under, because a 20-year warranty for a company that lasts 3 years, can't do anything with that. So batteries are all in place. It's all built out. Give you a little tour. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have a Wolfpup, hopefully maybe you saw some things you could do or it applies to your camper. Or who knows, I don't know. If you got questions, comments, thoughts, drop them in the comments below and just let me know. I actually get emailed those and they go to my email and I'm at work. I work online, often from the camper. We've actually got the wireless routers and everything on switches over there. I'll do a video on that as well. But yeah, hit me up with an email or a comment rather, and I'll get an email for it. I can respond and tell you what I can do to help you or do what I can. And I don't know, love sharing stuff, and hopefully you guys do too, and hopefully you enjoyed this. And yeah, look forward to more video content. Please subscribe. We'll be sharing cool adventures. Hopefully this week we'll have some stuff. We're going to Prineville Reservoir, so we'll be out there wakeboarding behind my friend's boat, wake surfing, and I'm going to try and make a cool video for the whole experience and talk about Prineville. And yeah, also maybe during that trip I'll take some time to finally get around to doing that video about all the unique things we do with our camper. But yeah, that's what I'm up to, and stay tuned and shred and enjoy.